We begin this evening in Florida, where Donald Trump's election night headquarters will be. That's where we find Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall. Tyler.
Yeah, hey, Kailey, I'm here at the Palm Beach Convention Center. This is where former President Donald Trump will rally supporters tomorrow night for an election watch party. But before that happens, former President Donald Trump is spending these final hours before Election Day crisscrossing the nation and hitting some of these key battleground states that we have been so focused on. He started this morning in Raleigh, North Carolina, then headed to Reading, Pennsylvania. He's on his way to Pittsburgh, and then he's going to end the day in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Something similar in all these places is that these are all in counties or near counties that former President Donald Trump lost in 2020. So clearly a strategy, a bid by his campaign to try to shore up support in some of these critical areas where they think he might have underperformed in last time around. Now, this is all about getting out the vote, getting out turnout, and making that closing argument. For a sense of how he's been appealing to voters today, I want you to take a listen here to how he addressed voters earlier in North Carolina.
I'd like to begin by asking a very simple question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? I've asked that question so many times that I've never had one hand go up for the other.
Clearly part of his campaign strategy to continue to tie Vice President Kamala Harris to the current administration she's in. We've heard this rhetoric from him throughout this campaign. It's also in the bid to try to mobilize voters to go out and vote. We talk a lot about undecided voters. Today, it's not necessarily undecided between Trump and Harris. It is undecided on whether or not they will vote. Joe and Kailey, it is important to note, though, that many Americans have already headed to the polls. By the last count, an estimated 78 million Americans have already cast early ballots. That is way above pre-pandemic levels.
Yeah, Tyler, thank you so much. Tyler Kendall reporting live from West Palm Beach, Florida. She'll be back in place with the candidate tomorrow evening as part of our special coverage. Earlier today, Kamala Harris was campaigning in Scranton, Pennsylvania, where she offered this final message.
What it's done with all that talk that's been about trying to have us point fingers at each other and divide each other, it makes people feel alone. It makes them feel like there's nobody standing with them. And so the way I've always been thinking about our campaign in these next 24 hours is, as we are getting out the vote, as we are canvassing, let's be intentional about building community, about building coalitions, about reminding people we all have so much more in common than what separates us.
Joining us now from Howard University, Kamala Harris's alma mater in Washington, D.C., is Bloomberg's Skylar Woodhouse. Skylar, thank you for joining us. What does the Democratic nominee have planned for tomorrow night?
Vice President Kamala Harris, as you just said, will be here at Howard University, her alma mater, a historically black college and university, which brings great significance to her and so many around the country, particularly black voters. The fact that she is holding her election night party here just shows that, she is so proud to be a Howard alumni and is really using this as, I think, a significance of where she almost got her start, as to who she came to be in college. Tomorrow during the day, she's going to be doing interviews across the airwaves, doing radio hits in all 7 swing states as she tries to shore up those final votes and the key battlegrounds that will decide who gets to go to the White House.
All right, Bloomberg's Skylar Woodhouse in Washington, D.C., thank you so much. And we want to go to one of those key battlegrounds now, Michigan. Joining us live from Detroit is Bloomberg's Romaine Bostick. Romaine, it is a key brick in the blue wall. What's it like on the ground today?
Absolutely, and that might be an understatement. If you take the Trump and Harris campaigns combined, there's only one other state that they visited more, and that's Pennsylvania, and that's only by one event here. This has become a critical battleground state for both candidates. Of course, this has been a state that, at least over the last few years, has been solidly blue. Trump broke through that blue wall back in 2016. Biden seemed to grab it back, but I think this year it could be up for grabs. And a big part of the reason is not about the economy. It's actually not about abortion. It's actually not about some of those hot button issues. It's really about foreign policy. You have a huge Arab American population here in Wayne County, just outside of the Detroit city center. They seem very divided. And right now, Kamala Harris, among Arab and Muslim communities, is polling at below 20% statewide. Trump isn't doing a whole lot better. He's polling at around 30%. But the real takeaway here is that third-party candidate Jill Stein out ahead amongst that community by about 40%, a potential protest vote, if you will, over the Biden administration's handling of the situation in Gaza. But I do want to take your attention to two other races here, and it's not the presidential race that could actually be a big bellwether for how the overall national race goes. That's the Michigan's 8th District and Michigan's 7th Districts, two vacated seats that are up for grabs. They had been held by Democrats. Dan Kennedy actually stepped down and retired, leaving that seat open. Is not a guarantee that the Democrats will hold on to that seat. And Alyssa Slotkin, who stepped down as representative there to run for Senate, not necessarily a safe seat either. That could actually go to the Republican candidate, Mike Rogers, to the Republican candidate, depending on how the election shakes out over the next couple of days. Mike Rogers, I misspoke there. He is actually the Republican Senate candidate running against Alyssa Slotkin in that race. Again, a somewhat tight race there, though Alyssa Slotkin, last time I checked, still up by about 3 to 4 percentage points.
All right, Romaine, thank you so much. Bloomberg's Romaine Bostick reporting live from Detroit, Michigan. A key brick in the wall, as Kailey said, and we reach now for what will be the big prize tomorrow night. Joining us from Philadelphia, of course, Pennsylvania, Bloomberg's David Gura. Good evening, David.
Great to speak with you. We're here on the footsteps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. If there's a more famous staircase in all the world, I'm not sure I could name it, but Kamala Harris will be here tonight, and she's taking the long way from Scranton to get here. She's going to go to Pittsburgh before here and hold a rally in that city on the other side of this state. But we got this polling data over the weekend that's been so critical, confirming what so many people I talk to here say, that this is a race that is neck and neck, a dead heat between these two candidates. But in that New York Times Siena College poll, showing that it's basically a deadlock, and neither candidate is taking this state for granted. Of course, Donald Trump spending some time in Pennsylvania today as well. I've been talking with voters here in and around Philadelphia and talking to party officials from both parties all across the state. Caught up with the head of the Republican Party in Lackawanna County, which of course is where Scranton is, and he's optimistic that this is going to be the year when Republicans are going to take that city that, of course, is so closely tied to Joe Biden. He, of course, a favored son of Scranton. They feel they have a real shot of taking it. And the real story here, Joe and Kailey, has to do with early voting, the particular brand of it that they have here in Pennsylvania. That is mail-in voting. A lot of people going that route, sending in their ballots early. Spoke to the head of the Republican Party in Monroe County, which is up in the Poconos, and has seen this influx of New Yorkers largely coming into that area. He said that they've checked on all of the ballots that were sent out to Republicans in that county. They've gotten in touch with most of them. 88% of them have returned those ballots, so they're confident in that as well. And just as I've been walking around the city and talking with folks here, really emphasizing the fact that they feel like more people embraced early voting on both sides, both Republicans and Democrats. And they're looking at the weather forecast for tomorrow, seeing it's going to be a beautiful day, and are optimistic that we're going to see record-setting turnout here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.